World War II lasted from 1939 until 1945. There were many countries involved and they were split up between the Allies and the Axis powers. Japan, Italy, and Germany were a part of the Axis powers, and France, Russia, the United States, and England were a part of the Allies. The war broke out after Hitler ordered the Germans to invade Poland, and then Poland's allies, France and England, declared war on Germany. Angela Horniman grew up 12 miles outside of London during the war with her mother and older sister, while her father served in the British Army throughout Scotland and Ireland.
The first thing I can remember about the war is my father walking around the garden with me and saying, "Angela, this is a day you have to remember the rest of your life. This is the outbreak of World War II. So don't forget that." And I was 4 at the time. I was born in 35 and I was 39. And I've always remembered that. It's one of my earliest memories.
As a young girl, Angela continued to go to school throughout the war. Only about 1/3 of her classmates continued to go to school with her. Students did not spend a lot of time in the classrooms due to all of the air raids.
And there again, when the air raid siren went off, we all collected down in the basement of the school. Every class was down there, and we just had our classes down there. I was young, of course. I was 5 or 6. I can remember reciting my times table down there.
Wow. The air raids often came with very little warning, and therefore many people were injured or killed by the bombs. Thankfully, Angela was never injured by any bombs, but she recalls many of her classmates were not as lucky.
If somebody didn't show up that day, or where was so-and-so? Oh, did you hear about so-and-so's house that was demolished last night? And on your way home from school, walk past so-and-so because it's not there anymore. And, you used to talk about this kind of thing. And people would come to the school with Band-Aids on their faces where they'd been hit by glass or shrapnel. But it was, not exactly a way of life.
Since these air raids were most common at night, many cities in England had air raid wardens. These were volunteers that would patrol the streets at night and make sure no lights were showing anywhere in the neighborhoods.
Wow, that's so you were supposed to stay in the house when the siren was on, and of course, at night time, all the windows were blacked out.
Oh, wow.
You either had really, really good curtains, which covered the windows, or some people even painted their windows black.
Wow, what did you guys do?
We just had heavy curtains, but if there was a chink of light showing, the air raid warden would come and knock on your door and tell you, "You've got some light showing." I know, it's really strange.
That's really weird. That's crazy. There was very little coverage of the war, since technology was not as advanced as it is today. People would use the radio and the movie theaters in order to learn new and important information on the war.
They would have 2 movies usually, and in between they would have a newsreel, Pathy Gazette, and it would last for about 20 minutes or something, and then you would see all the stuff. But there wasn't the media coverage like there is now. You had radios.
People were encouraged to build their own bomb shelters inside and outside their homes. These were usually made of large pieces of metal and resembled large boxes. Most people near big cities built these inside their homes, but they were later found to be minimally effective.
We'd go to bed in the shelter.
Every night?
Most nights, yeah. It was just an automatic thing.
So you didn't have a bedroom, or you?
I had a bedroom, but I didn't sleep in it.
For how many years? Was that just?
Probably about, when it was the worst of the war, probably about 3 years.
During the war, every person was given a rationing book. In England, they were color-coded. If you were an adult, you had a beige-colored book. If you were a child from 5 to 18 years old, you had a blue book. And if you were under 5 or pregnant, you carried a green ration book.
And, for instance, on the rare occasion when, say, oranges came in to the store, the people with the green ration books could get 2 oranges, whereas the people with the beige ration books couldn't get any.
Oh, wow.
So, it was because of the nutrition and stuff that the younger children needed. And when you got pregnant, you were given a green ration book. So, because you needed more food and better food then. So yes, we were rationed sort of 1 egg a week and 2 ounces of butter and well, very little fresh fruit in the stores. I didn't know what a banana was. Well, I knew what a banana was from before the war, I guess, but we didn't see bananas all during the war.
After the war, people slowly started not to need their rationing books anymore. First, they started to be able to buy more of what they had previously rationed, and then suddenly stores started to sell different products that the children had never seen before.
It was great. We had to taste all these things that we had never had before. Like, I don't remember having banana before the war, but bananas and grapefruit and sort of mangoes and things like that. We never heard of them. You know, it was apples and pears and stuff that you could grow in the garden. That was what we knew about.
Yeah, so they just started appearing in grocery stores and
Yeah,
you'd be like, Mom,
what's this? How do you cook this? Pineapple. There's a pineapple. How do you cook that?
During the war, the Nazis set up several concentration camps, mostly in Poland and in Germany. These camps were run by Hitler's secret service, the SS, who were known to brutally torture their prisoners. These prisoners consisted of mostly Jewish people, people with mental or physical handicaps, gypsies, and captured Allied soldiers.
I had an uncle that was in a concentration camp for 4 years in Germany.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and there was no communication with him. We knew where he was. At least we knew he was in a concentration camp in Germany. But there was his wife or any of the family had no contact with him at all.
Well, that's terrible.
So you didn't even know whether he was alive or dead. Occasionally, some of them would get letters out, smuggle letters out.
Wow.
But usually, you just didn't hear from them. And after the war, you wondered if they were going to come home. You wondered what kind of condition they were in, how they'd been treated. You didn't know any of that.
So did he come home after?
He did come home, and
Wow.
he hadn't had it so badly, but he'd lost a lot of weight, and he didn't talk too much about it. A lot of them didn't talk too much about it. It was just too painful to relive it. They wanted to get on with their lives,
Americans view the war as one of the most pivotal moments in the 20th century, but they did not experience the same pain and suffering as countries that were involved in Europe, since America's home front was untouched apart from the Pearl Harbor bombing by the Japanese in December 1941.
It was at home, and everybody was gone, and everybody was involved in it, and we knew what was going on, and the Americans sort of talk about it a bit, but they have no idea, really, what it was like. Where you go down the street at night, and it's just black, because everybody had their curtains, or their drapes, or their blinds, or something, so there was no sign. And you weren't allowed out on the street at night except unless you were an air raid warden.